You beat Hawthorn comfortably and Melbourne beat you here. Who would you rather play?
I'm not going to answer that. Either would be the answer, I suppose. But I'll go over on Friday, have a look, and whoever wins that game will play.
The differing styles of the two teams, is it hard? Well, I mean, I know you'll have another week after the game, but do you agree they're very differing styles?
Oh, well, they were. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Hawthorn. We haven't done any work this week on either side. So obviously we played Melbourne a few weeks ago and we got beaten, and it was a pretty good game, but we weren't good enough in the end. Early on in the year, I think it might have been around 9 or 10. So a lot's changed. Well, we've changed since then as well. So it was at Etihad. So I would have thought that's a different prospect. So we'll just see what happens when we get to Friday night.
Does what you do change based on who wins?
We'll train this week. We've got training tomorrow, main session, which we did the same program really going after the bye end of the season. So the difference this time around is we started to hone in a little bit on Collingwood with training 2 weeks ago, but we'll just train our own stuff tomorrow, and then when we hit Monday, we'll have a normal week. So we'll know obviously by then.
Have you stayed for both games on the weekend?
No, I've got my daughter's netball grand final Saturday morning. I'll get back for that.
Can I ask, and I've gone blank on my question, so Duff, just take it away.
How much do you reflect on that second quarter against Collingwood this week? And can you take anything out of that? And do they play a similar style?
Sorry, the second quarter.
Yeah,
what happened in the second quarter?
After you had a great start against Collingwood, then they sort of got on top of it.
Oh, look, interesting that game on the weekend. I know a lot of people were telling me that they dominated for the second and third quarter. I thought it was a bit of an arm wrestle for those 2 quarters. We weren't winning, but it wasn't like it was getting blown out of proportions. I think they kicked 2 or 3 in a row at the start of the second quarter, and then we pegged back 1 or 2, and then the third quarter was similar. So I don't see those second and third quarters as complete failures on our end. I just thought it was an arm wrestle that was just heading in the wrong direction, and we corrected it at 3/4 time. So the lessons we learnt from that game is that finals footy is slightly different. The contest dictates a lot, in particular field position, and if you can get that right, then that's always the start point for any team. So, and we understand Hawthorn and Melbourne are at their best. They're very, very good at both those situations. So that's what we took from it. Wasn't just the second quarter; it's probably the whole game.
Your midfield group really stood up in that final term. But how do you assess the first 3 quarters and what do you work on?
Same. I thought the battle of our midfield this year. I mean, for the whole year, I thought they've stood up, our boys. So there's going to be ebbs and flows and momentum shifts and players down on form, but geez, we haven't gone too long without them standing up at some stage. So they haven't surprised me. Our boys, they've always been pretty consistent. So, and the last quarter we went to another level that Collingwood couldn't keep up with. So that's the way it went.
Do you think having those senior forwards coming back into the game kind of helped that final push?
Supply helped, and obviously having some experienced talls and smalls forward of the play. I think we had 16 inside 50s in the last quarter to 10 or 11. So, if we can get that, we're going to be in good shape. It's just you can't get that all the time. So can you hang on and scrap it out when you're not having momentum and shut things down? I thought that we did that reasonably well on the weekend, and there's been stages this year where we had to do that as well. So that won't change for any team going in the finals.
JK didn't kick many goals, but you could kind of see him drawing 2 of the defenders who were stuck on him away from the rest of the players. Is that a tactic you'll look at using next time?
Well, he had 6 shots, so and a lot of them were in the second half. He was a bit rusty early on. He was well held. There wasn't a lot of supply, but I thought by the time we got halfway through the third, I think he had the first 2 shots of the third quarter and then kicked the goal later on. And the last quarter stood up. So, yeah, he'll be better for the run. What Oppo does, that's their problem. We'll play our way.
How do you pull up?
Yeah, I think we had a few sore guys actually. Yeah, it was a brutal game. So he's put up pretty well. So he trained yesterday and he'll train tomorrow. So, which is, I think most of our guys will train tomorrow, which is a good sign. It's Friday, so they've probably allowed themselves to be a bit sorer than they normally would when there's a game coming up.
So he doesn't have to be managed at all, basically, the injuries in the past?
Yeah, it's probably more the playing a game soreness than the shin. I think I haven't heard anything about the leg. It's probably just more how you pull up after your first game after 6 or 7 weeks, and a game like that as well. So yeah, it's more about that than the shin.
You would feel like, I'd imagine, he's going to be better for having played that game in the pre-league, because he was rusty early, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh, look, to get a game like that after 7 weeks off, he's human. So, but he was not far off in that first half as well. He's defended really well. Goldsack played well, but he did stand up late. So I don't think it's all about Josh, and he doesn't want it to be all about him. I think we've got more avenues to goal, but when he's up and about, it definitely helps.
But he still puts himself in the right position, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got that ability. That's why he's who he is. He's got the ability to be in the right spot at the right time. His timing when he leads, and his running patterns of, 10 years of work to get to where he is, and that's why he's so dangerous.
Do you have fears of when he did it the second time? It was a collision with Tom Cole, and do you approach that in any way during training sessions about contact with
No, he's back. He's back in that sense. So I haven't heard any issues with that.
What do you do tomorrow? So you have a bit of an intra-club contest?
Yeah, we'll do what we did 2 weeks ago. I mean, it's unique. It's happened now for 2 or 3 years where you get the bye, and then if you win, you get another bye, and we'll just treat it the same way we treated the first bye. And that was a Friday session that had 15 minutes of match practice and some other drills that we did there. So we'll do the same.
One game in 29 days between the end of the season and then your prelim final. Is training just enough?
Well, there's no. What else you got in mind?
Match or,
No, look, they're conditioned players now. I mean, the campaign's been long. There's 23 weeks of getting ready, and then what is ideal, I couldn't tell you. It is what it is. So we just prepare our players to be ready for next week. And that's why we'll follow our program we did last week. We thought we started quite well and finished the game off well with one man down for most of the night. So we thought that was a pretty good prep. From a results-driven process, that's what you look at, and so we'll do the same thing and hopefully we get the same result.
So if you're doing match sim, would it be a little bit more fierce than it normally would be then, if you were just going week to week?
No, we actually do it every week. We'll just do it for longer. We did it. We normally do it for 8 or 9 minutes, and we'll just do it for 15 or 20 minutes and practice the same things and do the same process. We haven't changed a lot. It's just this extra week off it just throws you a tiny bit in terms of how much you can do. You can just do a bit more, that's all. So I won't be with any more or less intensity.
How do you use the emotions surrounding Mackenzie and Shepherd and guys like that to try to give the guys a bit of a lift?
Oh, I don't use that as motivation. It's part of our industry, part of our club. We've had a bit of adversity this year. I'm not sure if you've noticed. There's been some ups and downs from you guys and from us internally as well. And Eric making his decision, albeit really sad for the footy club and for him. We also celebrate his career and what he's done for our club, and he's probably got another 100 games in him really if his body held up. So that's really disappointing for him and for us. He's the best and fairest winner. He played a significant role for us last year. He missed out on 15, but we still think he's contributed really well to the club, and I won't be using that as any motivation. He's been out of action all year really.
We've seen Nick Nat on the bench and Gaffey
in the box, yeah.
How much more room is there for other guys?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure what Shep wants to do. It's a pretty big box there. We'll fit him in if he wants to come in. But yeah, that one. There's some of the stories that unfortunately, the journey we're on. It's a squad mentality, and at the moment we've got 4 or 5 players who perhaps could be in the side and aren't for various reasons, and that's just the way it is.
Is Will Schofield front and centre to come in for the break?
Yeah, he probably is, but we just need to look at who we're playing and the matchups. I haven't done any of that yet, and Jackson Nelson has been right up there with selection conversations. Frankie Watson's another one who's played pretty well in the final last week against Claremont a couple of weeks ago. So there's some scope there to talk about. So we'll have that next week.
The fact that Will can play sort of tall, mid or small would be a pretty big plus.
Yeah, it helps. Yep, it helps, and his experience, and he's had a good year. Every game he's played, he's been pretty consistent. He's a role-driven player that gets the job done. So that's why the decision last week was really hard, because in big games you like those type of players in your side. So he was stiff to miss out last week.
As a prelim 120 on a Saturday, were you surprised that it maybe wasn't the Friday night here at Optus?
No, I honestly don't look at I don't know why they do it. I don't know how they come about the decision. We just turn up and play. So wherever they tell us to play, we do it. And I'll leave that up to Craig Vozzo and Trevor Nisbet to work through. I'll just coach the boys.
I know obviously your focus is purely on whoever you play, but does a day shorter than a potential rival in a grand final, does that have any impact on a team in recovery-wise?
Not in my eyes, no. I mean, if it was a 6-day break and we were travelling from here, I'd raise some concerns, but, we've done it before. So I'm not too worried about that stuff. We've had enough break, haven't we?
Just on who's coming in, potentially Francis Watson, would you have any, apprehension bringing in a debut for a final, like a prelim?
Oh, if his form warrants selection and, where we're at, we've managed to debut 8 players this year, and it's be a pretty big game to come into. But no, that's probably not in my mind. It's it's more what do we need? Can he fill that role? And I'm not thinking too much about that.
As a team you've been involved in as a player, charging through to a premiership or a grand final, had as many challenges as what your team has had this year?
I'm sure there's. Every season's different, so what you think's a significant challenge may not be. It's just what you got to deal with. Ideally, as a club, you just don't want any distractions. You want to train at the same place every week. You want your same players playing. You want your top 10 in the side, and you want to grow your kids, and you want no off-field dramas. You don't want to be on the front page of the paper. So, but that's every year, and every year that doesn't happen. So it's just this year's. It's been up and down. I don't think it's been difficult though. It's probably given us a bit more resolve more than anything.
What about your premiership teams or your grand final teams as a player and also a coach? Have you missed players of the calibre of Gaff, Nat, Nui, McKenzie?
God, I can't remember back at North days. It's back a while. I'm sure it was squad mentality back then. No, I can't remember who missed out. I'm sure there was a couple, that I missed. But yeah, I haven't thought about that.
Do you spend any extra time and put in any extra resources around the younger players who may not have been in that week off in a finals situation, as opposed to the ones that were there in 2015 and have seen it before?
No, not really. We've got a pretty good program in place. So we're happy with what we do internally, how we prepare our players. We've actually had to deal with a lot of young kids coming through this year. It's been really exciting for all of us to see that growth, and our fans and members have seen, in particular, our front half players, Rioli and Ryan and Venables and Waterman, and then of course in the back half with Cole and Duggan sort of stepping up. But I think that's been the process throughout the season. It's not like they've just come into the side. So. They handled the bye pretty well last week. They performed to a pretty good level, and I wouldn't expect anything less next week.
There's just been a tweet now. The competition committee recommends 6, 6 and 6 at each centre bounce, 80-metre goal square, runners allowed only after goals, and tighter rules on incorrect disposal. Are you happy with all of those?
Yeah, I'll say yes until I pick the eyes out of it and try and strategise how we're going to make it work for us, and then there'll be ripples on the back of that, and then we'll see what happens in 12 months. But that's just the way it is. They've worked really hard. One thing you can't criticise AFL this time around is they've done their due diligence on this, so I'm assuming if that's what's come out of it, then we'll back it in and see how it goes. Is
there one with a gut feel that you don't like or you really like?
Oh, I think as a coach you probably think 6, 6, 6, it's not bad or good. It's just, okay, if there's a momentum shift then you need to support your centre bounce team. Yeah, it's going to be a bit more difficult. I'm sure there'll be a way. I just haven't thought of it yet. And, so if you've kicked 3 or 4 goals in a row, are we going to see games where it turns into 6 or 7 because you just can't get it out of the middle, or, I don't know, Max Gawn's having a day out and you can't stop it off the back of the square. But I'm sure that's minor in that conversation. What were the other ones?
There are going to be tighter rule interpretations, including incorrect disposal.
Well, that's interesting. That's the one I'll be interested to see how they police that. I think it's been really difficult for the umpires at stages this year, not only at AFL, but watching waffle footy is the same, and even local footy. Some clarity around that would be good.
Can it get difficult to interpret rules and then they change constantly? Can we get too cute with changing rules?
I think we have in the past, yep. And I think the ripple off that has been hard to manage And some of the rules that have come and gone, like we don't really police the 5 metre arc anymore. That doesn't happen. So you can get away with that more than you did in round 1. So that's sort of in itself a bit strange sometimes, that we're in a competition where a rule's more focused on, and you know, things change from week to week. But to be honest, I don't lose too much sleep about it.
Simo, you wouldn't be looking ahead further than next week, but for fans, today is when Eagles fans can register for the grand final ballot. I imagine you'll be encouraging all the Eagles members to apply. And how important is it to get a good contingent in Melbourne?
You're right. I'm not thinking about that. The fact is, we're from the other side of the country for the grand final. So unfortunately, even for the club, you've got to prepare the what if we make it. And that's just the maturity the club has to deal with. I'm sure our members and supporters are going to go through the same process. So this is the week to prepare that sort of stuff. So yeah, get on board.